Ooh, back on again. You know what? This time, we're going to start with an apology to Punters Politics. You know what? I believe I called him cringe and a hard shtick to watch, but you know what? Fuck, man, like, putting yourself out there and being on camera is not easy. And actually, it's hard to fucking be natural, normal, or any kind of real on camera at all. So, fuck me, man. I gotta own up to being just a straight up hater. You know, so we've got to do a lot less hating around here and proper critiquing, right? So that's what we need to get used to, is identifying the substance of the matter instead of playing strange games. Anyway, we'll come back to maybe some of this, but today on the agenda is our good friend Andrew Hastie. So where are we at? What's going on? Well, we're still very much in the infancy of the political journey. We're still reading, we're researching, we're learning. Even, I guess, trying to identify my own political take on things. I don't even have like a proper conceptual model of the political landscape yet. So we do know, or I do know that Mr. Andrew Hastie, 43 years old, is the deputy opposition leader. So the opposition leader being our good friend Angus Taylor, who I have described as the world's most boring human, famous for a tweet where he posted on Maine, on the timeline, replying to his own tweet. Good on you, Taylor. Angus Taylor tweets himself. Absolutely classic, fantastic, great move. Well done, Angus. Oh, fuck. Fantastic, brilliant. Posted on Maine, on the timeline. Awesome. Fantastic, great move. Well done, Angus. Whoo! But he's an absolute wet biscuit of a politician, and he's not actually understanding the populist electorate moment that we're in, I don't think. And I don't think he's got a good bead on the electorate as a whole. You know, he might very much talk to his seat. Where is he? What seat does he hold? He might Hume, that's right. He might talk very much to Hume. Yeah, Hume is very much a right-wing seat for sure. But does he speak the language of the battler? And that's what I don't think he understands. I don't think there's a finer point, there's a finer tip to the moment that we're living through. And if you ask me, I think Andrew Hastie has a very good shot of overthrowing him, or at least surpassing him in popularity amongst the populace. So if I go to Google News here, Angus Taylor, Shadow Minister says Australia ill prepared for conflict. Like, what's he even say? And then he said some racist shit as well before. Like, he doesn't. I don't think he's even got very good at actually effectively attacking the government. Either way, we're putting all our eggs in the Andrew William Hastie basket, because I think this, God forbid, we do not want to see one nation anywhere close to being an opposition in this country. I firmly think that their popularity is overblown, wholeheartedly overblown, and that when you get to second party preferred, I think the mains will still dominate. But we saw in the last election, holy shit, and even in the South Australia election, the Liberals Party is getting an absolute thrashing. They've just collapsed into a heap. Now, this collapse, I reckon, it feels more than just in the last year or two. So I've only just started even reading, looking and researching this shit. Like, to give you some context for me, as an uninformed voter, I was very much a Greens voter until I had to think recently about how do I feel about certain issues, and tried to match them up to Greens policy, and I found their policy lacking in detail and how they would, and execution. I mean, sometimes they talk about how they're going to do it. You know, they say we're going to get money from here, there, and everywhere, but most of the time, they'll say crazy shit like, we're going to put price caps on groceries, which is just the most wild, insane, fucking communist left shit that I've heard, right? Like, if you put anyway, I think it's fairly, for those of you who don't understand the price cap model, if it costs me $2 a kilo to grow and sell bananas, and then the government caps the price at retail of bananas at $1.50, then I will just stop growing bananas. There will be no bananas. So the idea that you can price cap your way into a solution is fucking retarded. So, coming to this realization, looking back over the performance of past political governments, oh my god, of course governments are political. Looking back over the past performance of governments, I quite liked the Paul Keating era in terms of what they were about. I quite liked the progressive policy, the social policy of Labor as opposed to Liberals. The Liberals have definitely thrown their hat in with the, anti-wokeism. There's two genders. Clean energy is gay and lame, and obviously that shit's dumb. So I'm naturally going to sit with the more progressive movement that sort of understands that climate change is real, understands that yes, gender is a weird. There is gay people, there is trans people, and there's various mixes of in between, whether it's silly or not. Some of it gets a little bit silly. Some of it's obviously very serious. And so there's a choice to be made around, morally, do I side with compassion or do I side with hatred? And I think it's incumbent on everyone to understand what it means to be compassionate and to embrace compassion. Because it could quite easily be other people looking at you thinking you're the fucking retard, and actually we should take away your benefits. We should actually marginalize you in society. just because you're a straight white male and you got born into the fucking luckiest position in the universe doesn't mean that you have to define that as the narrow path. So that brought us to this moment of this, since several weeks ago, of beginning to read and understand, beginning to build out the mental framework of how this shit is happening in Australia, because it's very easy to get sucked into the politics of America because it's so exciting and it's so fucking stupid. And there's a lot to talk about, and we've been exposed to this culture, American culture, since such a young age, right? That we probably know more about the politics of America and how it works, how their government system works, more than we do here. And in some weird way, they can have a greater impact on our quality of life, on our success or failure as a country than our own government. Just look at this war in the Middle East, the Iran war. The pressure that's put on the fuel supply and the discussions that we have, the veil that they drape over Gina Reinhardt's eyes that convince her that she should be the golden queen of Australia to dictate terms to our politicians. This is a significant impact on us, and it's interesting and it's fun. It feels, particularly when we're in Australia, and it feels one step removed because, God damn it, it's not my border patrol agents in my backyard shooting people. But having said that, we will engage with our friend Andrew Hastie. Let's start with the basics, right? Let's get to the Wikipedia channel. Sorry, Wikipedia page. I feel like we've read a little bit about Hastie before, when we started going through some of the opposition party. But I don't know how in depth we went through all of his ideologies. Oh, fuck. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to guess that he's got some dog shit ideas, but he's definitely making, he was one of the few on the Liberal Party side that came out and said, I think he agrees with having an additional gas tax that all the lefties were starting to go on about, which is very much a populist opinion, right? So, Andrew William Hastie is a former military officer who has served as the Deputy Leader of the Opposition and the Deputy Leader of the Liberal Party in the House of Representatives since 2026, so only a recent appointment. He has been the Member of Parliament for Western Australia Division of Canning since 2015. Canning. So south of Perth, a rural seat by the looks of things. So held Green Party, the Country Party, the Liberal Party, the Country Party, the Liberal Party. Jesus, Labor got a leg in for a couple of years there. transferred to the division of Brand. The Liberal Party, Labour Party since from 1998 to 2001. Not bad. Okay. So it goes back and forth. Then it was Liberals, and then Liberals since 2015. So not wholly a safe, super safe seat. It has been in the hands of Labour within the last century. Okay, focusing. Here we go. Born in Wangaratta, Victoria, Hastie graduated from the ADF of the ADF through UNSW in 2004 with a bachelor's degree in history, politics, and philosophy. Motherfucker, we were at university at the same time. At the same university. He joined the University of New South Wales Regiment of the Australian Army Reserve as an officer cadet in 2001, completing officer training at the Royal Military College, Duntroon. He was subsequently deployed to the war in Afghanistan and served as a troop commander in the Special Air Service Regiment. SASR, interesting. The SASR, commonly known as SAS, is a Special Forces unit of the Australian Army formed in 1957. Nice. So he's actually in the SASR. So he's in the SAS. That's pretty good. I like that. So he's obviously got some very high-level tactical training. He's served overseas, so he knows how to serve under pressure. It was modelled on the British SAS, with which it shares the motto, "Who dares wins." Expanded to a regiment in 1964, it is based out of Perth, Swanbourne, in WA. So the tasks and capabilities. A direct command unit of Special Operations Command, the SASR is tasked to provide special operations capabilities in support of the Australian Defence Force. This includes providing unique capabilities to support sensitive strategic operations, special recovery operations, training assistance, special reconnaissance, precision strike, and direct action. Lots of cool stuff. Nice. Okay. Obviously, very famous during the Vietnam era for being silent but deadly. Hastie left the Defence Force in 2015, so he was there for 9 years, 10 years? Oh, well, since 2001 really, as a cadet in the reserves. So, and was first elected to the House of Representatives at the 2015 Canning by-election, replacing Don Randall. Hastie served as the Assistant Minister for Defence from 2020 to 2022. Quite a meteoric rise. Like, he's only been there 5 years and he's Assistant Minister. Okay, yep. During the Morrison government, following the 22 election, he served as Shadow Minister for Defence, as well as Shadow Minister for Defence Industry and Defence Personnel in the Dutton Shadow Ministry. Poor bastard. So, fuck me, imagine that, having to be sitting under Dutton in his cabinet. Good old potato head. He was the chair of the Parliamentary Joint Committee on Intelligence and Security from 2017 to 2020. Probably good fit. And so he was appointed Shadow Minister for Home Affairs in May 2025. He retired from the role in October 2025 after resigning from the party's front bench over internal policy disputes. Yes, we all remember the old multi-spill. This was after the election, wasn't it? He returned to the front bench in February 2026, serving as the Shadow Minister for Industrial and Sovereign Capability. A prominent member of the National Right. Oh, fuck. Whew. His views have been described as right-wing populist, yes, and far-right, with strong stances against multiculturalism, immigration, abortion, LGBTQ rights, and net zero emissions in Australia. Yikes. So early life and education. I'm just going to skip through this a bit. His father was a church pastor. Yikes. That's another yikes. If the head of your church is not referred to as father, you are failing. He helped launch Australia's first Mandarin-speaking Presbyterian church. Crikey. Family moved to the inner west of Sydney. Okay. So he was born in Victoria, moved to Sydney inner west. His primary education at Ashbury, attended Scots College. Yo, ooh la la. Redid his HSC, completing his HSC in 2000. Intending to become a journalist, he began a Bachelor of Arts. And also joined the regiment as a part-time reservist. Hastie completed his second year at Kensington campus in 2022 before transferring to the ADF in 2003. Okay, so I wasn't at uni at the same time as this guy. He finished his bachelor's in 04, honours in 05, and then he went on to do more stuff. He met his political mentor John Anderson. Okay, National Party bloke. Then he's in the military. He's doing some service overseas. Thank you for your service. So long as you did not commit any war crimes, as per our friend Ben Robert Smith was found on the balance of probabilities to having done. I wonder if he's got a statement on Ben Roberts Smith. Let's find out. Okay, in April 2026, Liberal MP and former SAS Captain Andrew Hastie stated that while Ben Roberts Smith is entitled to a presumption of innocence regarding new criminal charges, none of us are above the law. Following his 2022 subpoenaed testimony, Hastie emphasised respect for the rule of law and the judicial process, declining to comment further to avoid prejudicing the trial. Fair enough. He's a politician, right? Hastie expressed pity and terrible toll that scandal had taken on the SAS, noting that he had no personal relationship with Robert Smith. Defamation case. So he testified under oath in the defamation case in 2022. Holy shit. Hastie testified that it was a fairly well-established rumour within the SAS that Roberts Smith had kicked an unarmed prisoner off a cliff. He also stated that bullying was associated with... No shit. Good on you, bro. For actually testifying against this sack of shit. Well done. Hastie praised the moral courage of the SAS soldiers who testified against Smith, stating that their actions rescued the elite regiment. Good on you. This is the appropriate position to have as a politician and someone who served in the regiment. Well done for having some fucking backbone. Although it shouldn't really be having backbone. It should just be the fucking normal default position of a normal, average, normal human being. Oh boy, here we go. So we read a bit about this in the summary already. Political career, where he's in Canning. He's doing a lot of stuff. Oh. He joined the government of Malcolm Turnbull, who had himself become Prime Minister a week before the by-election. Malcolm Turnbull truly was on the wrong side of the bench. He needed to just moderate his views slightly left. In fact, I think he was way too much of a left ideology for the 2015 for the 2015s. Like, shit had already slipped far right in the Liberal Party by the time Malcolm got his hands on the Prime Ministership. I actually don't know how he got elected there. Maybe, yeah. Probably because rich as fuck and very influential because of it. Righto. So then he's in successive governments. He makes his way up the ladder pretty quickly. Here we go. This is what I want to know. What are our mates' political views? Crikey. Crikey. What are our mates' political views? Hastie is a member of the National Right faction of the Liberal Party. His views have been described as right-wing populist. In fact, okay, we read this with strong stances. Yeah. It's a little copy from the start, but at least this time I guess it's annotated, or what do they call this? Fucking referenced. Hastie flags demotion or resignation should Liberals not abandon net zero. Fucking wild. Mr. Conviction. What's behind New Crusade? Okay, whatever. Stances against multiculturalism. Hastie taunted over claim that Australians are strangers in our own home. These three, with their dog-whistling rubbish, are provoking imminent disaster. Far right. And Hastie taunted over claim that yeah, okay. So they doubled up. They did my boy dirty and they doubled him up. Is this Andrew Hastie's play for the leadership? Ooh, it's coming. Hastie is a member of the Atlantic Council. Fuck more. This is some real Illuminati shit. An international foreign policy think tank connected to conservative politicians Mike Gallagher from the United States and Tob Tugendhat from the United Kingdom. He has cited his Christian faith as informing his views on various policies, such as individual freedoms. I don't think Christianity says anything about individual freedoms in the Bible, if I had to guess. Well, from what I've heard, it's all about the mystery of faith. Okay. Jesus, there's a big fucking section on China. Is he specifically railing against China or something? Like, this is... Anyway, let's go. Hastie believes that freely formed associations are the basis of Australian society and are the fullest expression of self-government. Is he a unionist? I wonder. Hastie has expressed concern about the freedom of Australian universities and media institutions. In May 2018, under parliamentary privilege, Hastie alleged that political donor Chow Chak-wing was an unindicted co-conspirator in an FBI bribery case involving former President of the UN General Assembly John Ash. Oh, fuck these pop-ups, bro. This revelation was viewed as likely to further inflame the already strained relations between Australia and China, but Hastie saw it as his duty. I know, this motherfucker has too much backbone. An ABC analyst wrote that Hastie acted because he has become sincerely worried about the influence of China on Australian institutions and politics. Bro, they are fucking getting there. They have had their fingers, well, it feels like they've had their fucking fingers in deep for a while. At some point, I would like to know the true extent of what information or data there is available that discusses any of these links, because at the moment, it's all I have is intuition based on fucking random news articles and shit that I read when I wasn't that politically engaged. So I am unsure of Hastie's claim about this deep, worrisome influence that China is having. But since they're probably our number one trading partner, well, definitely our number one export partner, they would absolutely have an interest in fucking with us, right? Hastie was a strong supporter of the Turnbull government's decision to prevent Chinese phone manufacturer Huawei from providing 5G services in Australia. Okay, I don't think I necessarily have any feelings about that one way or another. If the government has identified, I mean, he was on the fucking security board thing, right? So he may have had some knowledge as to why this is bad. Hastie's concerns regarding Australia maintaining its sovereignty in the face of China's rising power in the region led him to form the Parliamentary Friends of Democracy with Labor Senator Kimberley Kitching. In August 2019, he wrote an opinion article, "We Must See China with Clear Eyes," where he stated that communist China rather than Islamic terrorism would be the real security concern of the 21st century. For Australia, I agree. I think this is very much dependent on which country you are in. And for us, where we are, 100%. Because, yes, 100%. Because all China needs to do is push us further towards the Marxist-Leninist pipeline. And there are plenty of people willing to jump down that pipe. The piece was criticised by the Chinese embassy in Australia, who denounced the remarks as reflecting a Cold War mentality. China's always pretty butthurt. That's nothing new. While Western Australian Premier Mark McGowan accused Hastie of threatening WA jobs with extreme and inflammatory language. Seriously. Conversely, Hastie received praise from fellow Liberal MPs Dave Sharma and Peter Dutton and Professor Clive Hamilton. The Chinese embassy disinvited him from a planned study trip with several colleagues to China with the China Matters think tank, stating, "We strongly deplore the Australian Federal MP Andrew Hastie's rhetoric on China threat, which lays bare his Cold War mentality and ideological bias. We urge certain Australian politicians to take off their coloured lens." Oh, they used American spelling. They fucked up and didn't know their audience. And view China's development path in an objective and rational way. They should make efforts to promote mutual trust between China and Australia instead of doing the opposite. Trust works both ways. If you feel like you're getting fucked, you cannot trust, right? You have to be able, there has to be evidence of good faith engagement in order to earn that trust. In November 2019, Wang Liqiang, who described himself as a former Chinese intelligence operative and had sought asylum in Australia, received public support from Andrew Hastie, then chair of the Joint Committee of Intelligence and Security, Hastie referred to Wang as a friend of democracy and stated that anyone who is willing to assist us in defending our sovereignty deserves our protection. He called on the Australian government to provide Wang with protection, arguing that Wang's purported revelations of Chinese interference were in Australia's national interest. Subsequent investigations raised significant doubts about several of Wang's claims. His asylum application was ultimately refused, and the Administrative Appeals Tribunal found that he had committed fraud against an Australian citizen. Dun dun dun. Be careful. So obviously, this guy is saying all of the things that Andrew wants to hear. So he's trying to put him forward. So it's understandable, but misplaced philanthropy. Let's call it that. In May 2020, Hastie was one of 20 Australian politicians to sign a letter condemning the comprehensive assault on Hong Kong's autonomy, rule of law, and fundamental freedoms. Good. I like it. I am slightly hawkish when it comes to our dealings with... I don't want to say hawkish because that means that's more like warish, but we should definitely take a firm fucking stance and put our foot down in terms of where Australia stands as a country, as to democratic, democratic freedoms, democracies, and liberal policies. Liberal, not liberal capital L, but leftist idea. Well, not even leftist ideas like. This is going to be confusing, but democratic shit. He was one of a number of backbenchers who pushed for added restrictions on foreign investment in Australian companies. I don't know if that's a big, okay. Sounds a bit xenophobic just on its head. Hastie argued that such purchases are part of wider political warfare conducted by the Chinese Communist Party. On 4th June 2020, the 31st anniversary of Tiananmen Square massacre, Hastie joined a group of 19 other politicians from 8 countries and the European Parliament to form the Interparliamentary Alliance on China. Yoicks. Environment and climate change. Arguing in favour of the sovereignty of local communities to make decisions about how they conserve and develop their environment, Hastie opposed the dredging of the Point Grey Marina, but supported the investment of $3 million by the Environment Restoration Fund to protect Carnaby's black cockatoo, a native bird endemic to southwest Australia, currently listed as endangered due to loss of habitat. Hastie has been a vocal critic of Australia's net zero emissions policy. He argues that the 2050 target is being made in the name of climate alarmism. Hastie has publicly opposed the Paris Agreement on reducing greenhouse gas emissions and the National Energy Guarantee. He made it clear in August 2018 that he did not support the NEG as it existed at the time. He cited issues including unclear assurances of energy affordability and energy-related risks to national security as his reasons for opposing the policies. Energy-related risks to national security. Without it, we're getting fucked by an international war. That's our national security. In September 2025, following the release of Australia's first National Climate Risk Assessment, which highlighted severe and far-reaching social and economic consequences of climate change, Hastie threatened to resign from the coalition front bench if the Liberal Party commits to the net zero emissions target. Bro. Imagine that the Earth is a black cockatoo and someone has just set it on fire and you're watching it burn. That's what we're doing with CO2. Is the problem that you just can't see it, or it doesn't have a cute face, or the timelines are too long for you? You can't imagine 100 years, 1,000 years, 10,000 years. Oh God! Oh no! I pre-read, and it made me sad. In 2018, Hastie supported calls for white South African farmers to be resettled in Australia. Look, I'm about to say some semi-racist shit, but I fucking hate South African people. They are some of the rudest, loudest, most annoying, most fucking entitled motherfuckers you'll ever meet in the fucking history of your life. Please no more. Please fuck off somewhere else and don't come to Australia. Please. Please. Hastie then headlined at a rally in 2019 along with, they might have a larrikin spirit, okay, I will grant them that in terms of how Aussie they are. They're very much a larrikin spirit in some instances. But my fucking God, bro. They do not have the fair go for, or help out a mate spirit. This is not a fair go fucking mentality coming from white South African farmers. It is a fuck yours got mine mentality from this is my limited experience in people I come into contact with, right? Happy for some South African farmers to prove me wrong and demonstrate that they are fucking reasonable, kind, nice, and thoughtful human beings. Hastie then headlined at a rally in 2019 along with another fellow Liberal, Ian Goodenough. Ian, she'll be right. In support of the farmers. Hastie has made frequent comments regarding migration to Australia, including some that have been interpreted as critical of former Liberal Party leader Susan Ley and her leadership. In 2025, he used the phrase strangers in our own country, popularised by conservative British politicians in his controversial 68 Rivers of Blood speech. Hastie used the phrase as part of a claim that migration had been responsible for increasing housing prices and declining quality of life in Australia. Quality of life in Australia is declining all across the world as the fast money of the 90s and the noughties is run out, and we're now having to live with some of those excesses of the baby boomer and Gen X generations. C'est la vie. We make do. In terms of, I know we've talked a lot about it. I've done some reading on immigration and things like that. I think I've started to get a bit of a position on what I feel like immigration is, how it's impacting us, and what is the prescription. Certainly there is, in terms of OECD, we're super high up in terms of percentage citizens born overseas. And there is, I think, a reasonable argument to say that that will have an impact or a shape on the culture. No doubt, right? I guess the argument from these people is that that impact is a negative one. That I don't know. That I would need to see some research about, because ideally you should be able to measure negative impacts in terms of there should be some kind of crime statistics or things along those lines. In terms of housing, we did read some articles that said each 1% of a 1% increase in population due to immigration increases the local area's house price by 1%, or increases the house price by 1%. I think that might be true up to a cap, a limit, and that cap was probably set by your ability to construct housing, right? So immigrants coming in probably doesn't have too much of an impact on housing price, so long as you can build shit to maintain demand. But as soon as you're increasing, as soon as you're having entrants coming over and above what you can manage, then that puts a severe pressure on housing requirements. But when you look at someone like fucking Isaac Butterfield, whose answer was, "Oh, we should just cut it to 0." That's like it's a child's understanding of demographics and economies and how things work, and this idea of, we don't need. I think I read somewhere, or was it this Isaac Butterfield guy too? I don't want to put words in his mouth because I don't remember, but some right-wing piece of shit was like, man, we can just train nurses here. Like, we can just make our own nurses, right? We can just make our own nurses. All we got to do is fucking make more Australian nurses. And that's like, man, nothing. Anyway, this is a rant for another time, but nothing is stopping people from becoming nurses right now. There is no legislation forcing people to not be nurses. Whew. Anyway, marriage equality. Oh, of course. Hastie has campaigned against same-sex marriage, abstaining from the 2017 parliamentary vote to legalise marriage of same-sex couples. Okay, because he's a god botherer. Hastie had publicly stated he would vote with his constituents, but then later refused to vote on religious grounds. You fucking... Okay. Good on you, bro. Good on you. Unreal. Personal life. I don't think I really care, do I? So, he met his wife in America by the looks of things. Proposed at the Opera House. Married in 2008. Looks like in America. Kids were born here. Lives in Mandurah in the Peel region of Western Australia. Hastie was described by Labor MP Brian Mitchell as a man of deep faith. After rejecting religion in adolescence, he later became a part of several Reformed and evangelical churches, including Capitol Hill Baptist Church. Yikes. Pussy so good, he had to go to church. Fuck. I mean, I hate to disparage a man's wife, but damn, that's a motherfucking good pussy. St. Matthew's Anglican Church, and then, yes, small Canberra, okay, church. And has a grand total of 93 footnotes. Very well cited. Thank you very much. So he was cited as being part of this national right. So a Liberal Party Australia national right. So the national right faction. So we learnt about the Labor left and the Labor right. And then we now know that there's a national right. So this is something that might have to wait for another time. I want to see if there's anything in the man's very own words that we can finish off with. Now we've only got a couple of minutes, so we will. Whew. We've got ISIS, cost of living crisis, net zero. Oh boy. More net zero. Update. Labor is obsessed. Radical Islamic theology. Okay. It's time we put Australians first. Let's just go to the latest. Oh, I'm going to have to turn this audio on, aren't I? There you go.
We're in a new stage of history. After World War II, it was the United States who built the international order, the international institutions. That's why the United Nations is headquartered in New York. And I think that that construct is defunct, in a sense. We've got a different president who is mercantilist when it comes to his sort of economics. I think he's an apex opportunist. We've seen him strike Nigeria, Venezuela. He's attempting regime change now in Iran. But we've also seen the rise of autocracies. China's flexing its muscles. We've seen Russia invade Ukraine illegally and immorally. And Iran, of course, was sponsoring Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis in the Middle East. So this is a very different stage of history. And my concern foremost by making those comments is to wake Australia up. We've only got 30-odd days worth of fuel. If our shipping lines are cut, then our whole economy could grind to a halt very quickly. Never mind the fact that our industrial base is also shrinking, and that makes us vulnerable to world events. So my concern is for our country and making sure that we're resilient and self-sufficient. Authorised by...
Ooh. Okay. I guess firstly, I feel like he's probably on the good side in terms of like, he's clearly identifying Trump as a fucking madman, which is nice. So he's calling it as he sees it. Appreciate the honesty, the backbone there. But we clearly have some fundamental disagreements. But unfortunately for our friend Andrew, Albo managed to pull the cat out of the bag and not only fucking secure fuel, but managed to bring fuel prices way the fuck down, because he's a fucking... He is a technocratic god. Oops. That's not what I want. I want a fuel price. I want to see fuel prices over time. Here we go. 2025. 2026. That's the year we're in, isn't it? Weekly fuel monitoring. Is this 2026? 13th of March. Oh my god. What's this? Diesel terminal gas price. Okay, what the fuck is this bullshit? Whoo! Okay, diesel terminal gate price, Sydney. Righto. Look, diesel, fair enough. When you look at petrol, it's, as far as I'm concerned, it's back at fucking pre-war prices. Diesel a different story, right? The demand is a very different sort of a curve. Our usage is much greater. We saw that before. It's like 80% of our fuel usage is diesel or some shit. But still, man, like, that is good. I know a lot of this is probably excise, dropping the excise off. But it's a fucking good effort, bro. Like, you cannot... Average retail price. 5 large cities. Singapore Mogas 95 unleaded, lagged. So we're following, like, Singapore's on, like, we're not the only ones paying a lot for fucking petrol, right? Like, this is a worldwide issue. And we just have to, sometimes you gotta pay more if you want more. Now, last time I saw, here we go, what's this, retail? Okay. Last time I saw petrol, it was $1.78. So, that was for 91, I believe. So, shit's good, man. Like, petrol cars are back in business. So this is from the 4th of March. So I was wondering, I didn't know, yeah, I was wondering what this date this was from, but this is from fucking age ago. Man, Andrew, you gotta fucking get some more of your shit out there, my friend. What else have we got? His last video was from a month ago. This isn't how populists operate. You gotta fucking every week, man, in there, every week. Yeah, okay. But look, in terms of an opposition, not bad. Not too bad. Definitely seems to be a rational opposition. The choices and the comments that he's making seem to be centered around a coherent ideology. And he's voting based on that ideology, so he's quite predictable as a politician. So as opposition, I think he seems to be quite reasonable. So, Andrew, we look forward to seeing you very much in the opposition's leader seat sometime soon. But that is our friend, Andrew Hastie. Okay, just one thing. I want to see Monuments to Misinformation, see if he's got anything new. Or more One Nation, Pauline Hanson, okay. Okay, One Nation and conspiracy theories. Let's go, son.
Do you think that Bondi was a false flag?
If I make a statement, it's got to be backed by fact. I don't have the facts yet. I'm not ruling it out. I doubt whether it's false flag.
That's such a disgusting answer, and it's an actual failure that Malcolm Roberts holds any political power if that's the answer he's going to give. This is a perfect example of someone whose mind is so open their brain has fallen out of their head, and it's such a perfect representation of what One Nation is. He would just never apply this logic to anything else. If I was like, hey, there's this conspiracy theory that Pauline Hanson is actually being paid for by far left extremists to make people hate right-wing parties so that way the left is bolstered and gets more political power. Do you think that's true? He would say, no, that's ridiculous. He wouldn't go, well, you know what? I don't believe it, but I don't have all the evidence. I haven't seen all of her bank details. I haven't been there for every single one of her meetings. You know, maybe there's something there. They apply this conspiratorial thinking so selectively to things that allow them to either feel superior or gain political power. And it is so disgusting, in my opinion, that a member of parliament, a politician, can't just definitively come out and say no to a conspiracy theory about a horrific event that happened to innocent Australians. It's so genuinely disgusting.
We should be focused on how the government under
True, very true, and very based. Very fucking cool. This is, yeah, insane rhetoric coming from One Nation. And I think, who was it? It was, the fucking finance minister, I believe. It was like, One Nation, great party for finding fault in everything and nitpicking at the tiniest little things that annoy Australians and blowing them up into the world's hugest catastrophe. Very shit at actually knowing how to fix those problems. But yeah.
and the Labor Party in the States killed more than 30,000 people with the COVID shot. That is fact.
I just, come on, like, and I meant to take this person seriously. I meant to be this unbiased source that looks at all of the arguments equally. This is such a ridiculous position to hold. Oh my lord, I can't believe these people are gaining real political power. But hey, let me know what you think in the comments. Check out the YouTube. It's been real and I am miserable.
Nice. Man, it's just sometimes you need a bit of a, after reading about Andrew Hastie for so long, you need a bit of a palate cleanser. So yeah, fucking so nice. Whew. So nice. Let's leave a comment. Palette. How do you spell palette? Oh, double T. There we go. Okie dokie. Enough. This is enough. Later, Gators.